everybody, Danielle Egnew here. Welcome to InPsightRadio, where you are a fly on the wall to everywhere. It is awesome to be with you this week, and so much have been going on in the world with me. So I'm going to get you caught up because I have a guest in the studio today, and I'm really excited about my guest in the studio. So we're going to introduce our guest in just one second. Yet I really want to take the time at the top of this show and really thank everybody for being part of my national Ascension tour. You know, we wrapped the Ascension tour this weekend in Reno, Nevada, and it was a year in the planning, 3 months executed, 6 nationwide stops. It was so amazing to be able to go and channel angelic messages to people all over the place, and to have those people really feel that their lives had received edifying information, enough so that they could go on and make some really powerful changes in themselves. So one of the things I saw during this time frame was huge miracles. And I see miracles all the time. I deal with angels. I am in the realm of witnessing miracles constantly. Yet when it's just me, okay, talking about, hey, I saw a miracle and I talked to angels. I mean, come on. Our tendency is to be like, whatever. Okay, Pollyanna. All right, Mary Poppins. Way to actually see a miracle. But it's true. I do see miracles, and I'm very grateful for the miracles that I'm able to channel through. So today we are going to talk about what makes a miracle, because for the incredible participants in Portland, in Boulder, in Billings, Montana, in Bozeman, in Minneapolis, and in Reno, all of these people had an opportunity to encounter their very own miracles through this particular modality and through this tour. It was really incredible. So my guest today is not only one of my very best pals, she's also my sister-in-law, yet more importantly with regard to today's show, she is or was the tour manager for the Ascension tour. And her name is Melissa Scianna. Melissa is also an herbalist. You can find her online at vintageapothecary.com. Is it vintageapothecary.com?
It's vintageapothecaryshop.com.
Vintageapothecaryshop.com. You can find her online with all of the incredible work that she does through healing and uplifting other people herbally. And she's a natural healer, so she's also one heck of an organizer, which is why I was super excited to have her work with me on this Ascension tour. So Melissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
It's
hey,
awesome.
Danielle.
Hi. Yay. And so Melissa, of course, has been traveling with me all over the United States, and we've been sharing hotel rooms, and she's been seeing all this stuff that's gone on. So what I would ask you, Melissa, is I'm going to ask you a pretty complex question. And the listeners are used to me talking about miracles, right? Yet what I want to ask you is your opinion of what makes a miracle different having done the tour as opposed to previous to the tour? How do you define a miracle these days?
Wow. You're right. That is a complex question. I think that my definition of miracles has always been pretty broad. I think that when we use the word miracle, people are expecting, godlight and giant things to happen. And honestly, yes, sometimes that's the case, but miracles happen every day. And I think that sometimes we just need to open up our eyes and watch and see what's happening. And during the tour, I think the tour experience allowed me to pay more attention.
Right on.
Pay more attention to these little life-changing things, right? If it's changing someone's life, it is a big thing. Even at the moment, it may just be a sentence or a few words or, some sign that we see that we interpret as encouragement from the universe. But the tour helped me to see those things. pay attention. Pay attention.
Well, and that's just the thing. So what we got the chance to see during this tour is that there are so many levels of miracle that actually come forward for people. And one of the things that I found so fascinating was when we would embark on these tours, the entire path was laid out with crazy synchronicity. And I think we are so conditioned by sensationalist society to believe, as you put it, a miracle is the clouds parting and God standing in front of you and saying, your cancer is gone, or you have $50 million in the bank out of nowhere. And that's certainly, that's one hell of a miracle, okay? That's a big miracle. Yet our miracles come to us in the tiniest ways that when we add them up at the end up being one massive miracle. So why don't you share with our listeners? Because if I tell you guys, you'll probably listen because you're nice and you're my friends and I love you. Yet I always find it interesting for someone else's perception to be brought forward who steps into the realm of angelic synchronicity, who may not be as immersed in it as I am all the time. I find that perception to be fascinating. So, Melissa, what was there stuff that you found that fell into place?
I think it started at the very beginning. It started the day that we decided to do the tour. And it was just this small choice that we made with something that you wanted to do and that we chose to make happen. And then it did. And that was the first miracle. And then I think as we traveled, little things happened to us along the way. Little bits of encouragement, like we drove to Boulder, and as we're pulling into the city, it's dark. There's tons of traffic. We're exhausted because we've been driving all day.
Yeah,
and we pulled in, and there was fireworks.
Yes,
and that we interpreted that as a little tiny miracle, a little bit of encouragement for us to keep going and do this beautiful tour. And then and
it's important to note, I love fireworks. I absolutely fall apart over fireworks. So we're driving in, and there's no reason for the fireworks to be there. I mean, it's not 4th of July or anything when we went to Boulder. Yet these fireworks are blowing off. It was sort of like, welcome to Boulder. Hey, everybody. And
it wasn't just tiny fireworks like off on our left-hand side. It was huge fireworks kind of right in front of us. And both of us get really excited about fireworks.
Yes.
Things like that. Things like that happen to us all the time, like countless things. But I think that like the changing people's lives part, the miracle of changing people's lives was we had so many people that would come in searching for an answer.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's amazing how the angels that are coming through you have a message for every single person in the room.
Yeah, that is cool for me to watch.
Yeah. For instance, when we were in Boulder, we had someone at the VIP party, like a beautiful young girl, tell us this was a life-changing experience for me. And I think that part of the miracle is perhaps not the words that the angels are saying, but it's learning to open up and pay attention to the miracle, right?
To the synchronicity. And what I think you're pointing to is that so many times in our lives, think about this, we have so many times in our lives where we are waiting for the MGM grand clouds to part to confirm to us that the universe is listening. And what I found with this tour, that how we define a miracle really, really rules out many daily miracles that we're hearing and seeing all the time. And we explain it away as synchronicity, and we explain it away as luck, and we explain it away as, oh, well, that just happened, and oh, that was weird. Yet the universe is constantly trying to show us, you are supported, you are supported, you are supported. This is a constant role that the universe is in with us. And on this tour, what I was so fascinated by, and this again, gang, this podcast is not about how amazing I am and how amazing the tour was. It is about how we define a miracle. Because what I noticed on this tour, and Melissa, you can attest to this, was that people came in either expecting nothing because they didn't know what to expect, or they were expecting one specific thing out of it. And just being in the presence of so many other people that were willing to receive and create a ripple in the quantum field that was healing began to change people's makeup. It began to change how they thought about themselves. It began to change how they believed they could go into the world and affect humanity. And I'm looking at people's timelines just shifting like mad in this room. And it's not because I'm amazing. It's because the people were willing to suspend that angry adult thing that says nothing good can ever happen to me, and open up that inner child, and they all participated in that angelic resonance. So Melissa, what was one, like you just gave the example of the young woman in Boulder who said, this was a life-changing experience. What was another piece of this that you saw that was a miracle that somebody else took away from all of our participants? We had a number of them, but what was another one that you watched somebody take away with that light bulb over their head? And again, please understand, people, I want you to understand, this is not a podcast about how amazing my tour was. This is about the miracles that we witnessed.
Well, and let me make a comment just to what you said a minute ago about being together and the power of the universe when we come together.
Yes.
Because it's a comment about what happens to me after this tour and the amazing things that everyone is in the room is experiencing, and that opening up, that universal acceptance lingers for a long time after the tour date is over.
So after the event is over, you're feeling repercussions that are positive from the event.
Well, yeah, not just, more than that. More like open to psychic information, to messages, and it's not just me. It's I've talked to people after the fact, and it's the miracle of having that energy in that space with these people all together is not just something that lasts for the 3 hours of the event.
Right.
It's something that lasts for days after. And I mean, if you keep your vibration high, or however you want to phrase it,
right,
it can last forever. And so one of the interesting things about the tour was that I know that people stayed together afterwards. Now, what do you mean they stayed together? So people connected at the tour, like little groups of people, or like our VIP people, for example, connected with each other. So at every tour, there were always people that had things in common.
Yeah, that was cool.
And they were anything from like an interest in off-worlders, or an association with off-worlders, or a connection to off-worlders, that they honestly thought they were the only ones.
Yeah.
They came into the room probably not even wanting to talk about off-worlders, and then somebody had the courage to say something, and then pretty soon, boom, 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 there's a bunch of people that are all together that are experiencing the exact same thing. And
so they're no longer alone at this point in the world. They no longer perceive themselves as being alone in the world. And what do we talk about on this podcast all the time? We talk about the power of the connective human species. We talk about the power that as a Bluetooth race, as we come together, we are able to affect massive, massive change. And in the massive change that we're there to affect, when we have many of us come together in like purpose, the Bible says where two or more are gathered, therein lies the Spirit of God. And so that's one religious modality that talks about the power of interconnectedness. So one of the things that I'm hearing you say is that on this tour, you reflected and saw people come together that thought they were alone, and then got in this resonant safety of this group, and then could come together. So a miracle in our lives, gang, can be interconnection. A miracle in our lives can be finding that missing member of your tribe. Or you might not think that you are part of a tribe, yet you step outside of the comfort zone to create something larger than the self. Like say with these great crowds that we had at the Ascension tour, people showing up to participate in what's happening in the transition of our world, and they meet their tribal members. And it's that like association. That is a miracle.
Exactly. And it wasn't, I just used off-worlders as an example.
Well, no, but that was a thing in Boulder.
It was a thing. And in other locations, it was healers.
Yeah.
It was people that had an innate desire and talent to heal, yet they were uncomfortable expressing it, or maybe they didn't have the confidence and they just needed that boost, and they found their people. So as the doing the managerial part of it, I know that afterwards people connected. They asked me to share their emails with each other. They stayed together and stayed in communication with each other. They found their tribe. And I definitely think that there's a miracle in that.
That's a huge miracle.
Yeah.
It's finding your purpose and feeling invigorated in your purpose and supported in your purpose is a giant miracle. It's huge.
I think just to hear sometimes the angels who speak through you tell them, specific people, that yes, you are a healer. That is what you can do. They probably have never heard that before in their life, and it's true. And so they're doing this job that they have to go to every day that makes them unhappy. We had so many people talk about that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, and about how they were drawn to do this other thing, whether it was healing of some sort, energy work. I mean, it could have been herbalism. It could be crystal healing. It could be anything. That they just needed that affirmation.
Yes.
That is something that they are capable of doing. And boy,
affirmations are miracles. Affirmations are miracles, gang. We don't think about that. We're like, no, a miracle is when something pops out of thin air. Well, that's kind of a magic trick, really, if you think about it. And it can be a miracle too. Yet affirmations to our purpose, to our gifts and talents, that's a miracle, especially when we need it at just the right time. And another thing I saw, we think of redirection as the worst, right? Oh my God, it's change in my life. God hates me because there's change. And God doesn't hate you because there's change. There is change because life is not constant. It is a science thing. God made science. God loves you. So, really the wraparound here is redirection is a miracle oftentimes. And I'll give you an example of this. And okay, so our very last stop, Reno. In every other location that the tour had been, we had executed the tour in sanctuaries, in healing centers, places where there are big grand pianos. And our last tour stop was at the Atlantis Casino and Resort Spa in Reno. And so we had this wonderful room upstairs as a conference room, yet there was no piano, obviously, in the conference room. So our VIP after party was down at this wonderful Bistro Napa down there. And right outside of the door of this bistro, on this floor of this big open conference area, was a grand piano. Well, Melissa had gone to the concierge and asked if it was okay that I play the piano. And they said, sure, whatever. So I sat down and I was playing the piano and singing a song that I sang at every single tour stop except for Reno. And it's a song called Go Be Love, and it was on my last You Got to Go Back the Way That You Came album, and you can find that on YouTube if you want to watch the video of it. However, I wasn't able to sing this song at this stop. So it was the way it went until we got down to the restaurant afterwards, and I sang it for the VIP group. And then what happened, Melissa?
Well, it was an open area just outside the restaurant, and there were all these tables all around. So there were more people than just our VIP group that were listening to you play and sing. And there was a family there with us with little children in pajamas, which we thought was interesting. And they were watching us, and pretty soon the mom started walking over with this little girl. She was, I don't know, maybe 8.
Oh, I wouldn't even say that. I think she's 5.
Beautiful,
she was little.
Beautiful little girl. And you could tell that they were being affected by the beauty of the music. And they walked over and they listened to you sing for a while. And then after you were finished with the song, the mom started talking to us. I think she said, I don't remember the little girl, her name or anything, but she said, could she play?
Eileen.
She would like to play a song for Dan. She said, what's her name? And I said, Danielle. And she said, she would like to play a song for Danielle. Would that be okay? And
it was so cute. So this little girl, and I think, honest to God, I think she was probably around 5, sits down. She was a little tiny little thing. She gets there and she plays her song, and then she plays a couple more songs, and the mom asks her to sing Amazing Grace, and she sings this. And so then she gets done, and another little girl from the table comes over and plays. And this is a very edifying thing for little kids to have, a crowd that cheers for them and whatever. And it was kind of an odd thing.
It was actually this little
It was
girl,
cool, but it was a little odd.
It was a little odd because it was a bar type area restaurant, in a casino. So to have a family there was interesting. But later we found out why.
And before you say that, so because that's exactly
that's the end.
That's the end, right? And so the piece, and then you can tell the end. The piece that was phenomenal was the mom says, can we do Amazing Grace? Well, then Melissa says to me after this little girl played Amazing Grace, Melissa says, I want to hear you sing Amazing Grace and play it again. And I said, well, I don't want that little girl to think, well, you played it, so now I'm going to play it. And, because that was kind of her thing.
And the family had walked away by that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then Melissa, did you go and ask?
I did. I went over to the family because their table wasn't that far away. And I said, would you all please come back and sing Amazing Grace with us one more time?
Yes. So the family comes back and we're playing and singing. And the mom says, I think I'm going to cry. And so I'm going through and I'm singing and I'm playing and the little girl's singing. And when we got to the part that was when I saved a wretch like me, and the mom is just back there crying. And I'm thinking, wow, I can feel something else is going on, but I can't quite figure it out.
And they had a large family. Their whole family walked over.
Family was there.
They had a lot of kids.
And it was weird. Yeah. Like I said, it was an upscale restaurant in a nice casino, and they're sitting there in pajamas.
Yeah.
It was just an odd thing. So
we didn't know. So we sang the song, and there were hugs. The mom hugged Danielle, and the little girl was so happy. And then I think they left.
They did. They left.
Went back to their hotel room. And we found out the next day that the casinos in Reno, and the Atlantis is one of them, have been donating rooms and food and things to people that have been displaced through the fires in California.
Exactly. So here is this family that obviously was there because everything was burned out. They're in their pajamas. They're eating, and they're crying at that saved a wretch like me. So miracles are redirection. Okay, so we didn't have a piano in that room. I got redirected right in front of this big fancy restaurant bar area in this fancy casino to play this particular song in front of this family that needed emotional and spiritual and collective healing. And these little girls needed to feel a sense of normalcy and purpose because apparently they used to play the piano a whole bunch, and that probably all went up in smoke. Yeah. So they got a chance to return to that collective appreciation for their musicianship. That miracle was a redirection on the part of myself and on the part of all of that VIP group. And we got to experience that miracle with those people.
It's so interesting, your comment about redirection, because it's all about us listening to what the universe is pushing us to do, right? Which is very easy for you.
Well, sometimes. Depends.
But it's so interesting because, we knew there was a piano there, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about, I said, well, look at that beautiful piano earlier in the day.
Yeah.
Maybe you should play that. And you were like, well, we'll see. We'll see how the energy is. We'll see how I feel, So I thought, you know what? I'm going to set this up anyway, just in case.
And so I'm going to pause that real quick. I'm going to set this up anyway, just in case. So notice how the miracle redirection is working. So Melissa's picking something up through the ethers going, that piano is going to be important later. And as a performer, because I that was my job forever, was rock star before I did this job spiritually. I feel like, God, you never want to be that person that just sits down and like, hey, everybody, look at me. I'm glad you're having dinner, but I'll be here till Thursday. Here's a song. That's just obnoxious, right? So I never want to bleed over into people's experience if they're not expecting that. So I can't even call it hesitancy. It's more of I want to be respectful, but Melissa heard that call and felt, no, so sometimes we have to prepare a place for the miracle.
Yeah, it was all about me paying attention to this need to make sure the piano was available. And then later it was the same thing when I asked you to sing it again. And you were like, oh, that little girl, I just don't want to hurt her feelings. She just played it. I don't want to play it again. And I got that. And I just knew, I'm like, no, this is the right thing to do. But I knew that it wasn't enough to for you just to sing the song, that I needed to go over and embrace them and invite them to come back. So, and that's not about me. It's just about everybody. It's about
listening when you're
attention.
being asked, because, and this goes to the third leg of this, miracles don't happen to us. Miracles happen through us. We are the co-creators of the miracle environments here. And in this case, Melissa facilitated the miracle. Sure, I sang the song. That was fine. Yet I wouldn't have sat down on that piano had I not known it was okay, because that violates everything about me that says I don't want to take my half out of the middle energetically when people are trying to have dinner with somebody and then somebody sits down at a piano and starts banging on it. That's not cool. So, and I'm very aware of how the energies of music permeate conversations and permeate a space. So miracles don't happen to us. They happen through us. And we must be a co-creator and build a platform by listening for these things to take hold in our lives. And I was doing my part of it. I was singing and playing and graciously upholding this little girl. And you're right, I didn't want to go out there and say, well, now you just did Amazing Grace. Well, here's how it's really done, little girl. I didn't want it to come off like that. Yet when you invited him back over, it created the platform of miracles. None of that would have happened if you, Melissa, would not have checked with the concierge and said, hey, it's okay for you to play the piano.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of times things like that happen and we say things like, whoa, wasn't that a coincidence?
Yeah.
And the phrase in my household now is there are no coincidences.
Yes.
Things like that happen because we're paying attention. And sometimes paying attention is just like, it's not a big thing. It's this tiny little urge inside me that said, go get that family and let's do this again. And it's the magic that's coming through you. It's not like this big decision that you have to make. It's little tiny, tiny things. It's paying attention to the little urges.
And the little urges, gang, this is what we are not taught. We are not taught, especially by the old world, especially by the sensationalized masculine time frame where everything was about accomplishment and huge and go big or go home. Even though I say go big or go home a lot, yet I mean that in the feminine time frame application, which is give it your all or let the tide be out and just be in repose. And for this type of situation, what you're saying, Melissa, miracles come to us in little increments. They do not happen to us. They come through with us.
Yes.
And we are responsible for co-creating the platform for which those miracles, for which they can take root and land.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that sometimes it's very easy after being exposed to this energy for the last 3 months to be picking up on those little messages for me. It becomes easier all the time. The more you do it, the more you start paying attention, the easier it gets. And sometimes it's silly things. It's things that other people would interpret as silly. Like we're having a conversation about something that's going on in my life, for example. And then a particular bird flies over our head. And I'm like, oh, I think that was important. I don't know what it means, but I'm going to look up and see what that spirit animal means. And sure enough, it's an affirmation for the particular thing that we're talking about. Those things happen to us, I don't know,
a
50
zillion
times a day.
Times. And if you think about this, gang, think about how we have reframed miracles to be a one-off thing that never happens. they are happening to us all the time in tiny increments. We are constantly being communicated with by the universe. We constantly are being told, I am with you, I support you, and I am hearing you by Mother, Father, God or Mother, Father, Universe. And here's a good example. So when we leave to go to Reno and we get to the airport and our gate is gate number 4. And there was, when I left and turned, we had a very early morning flight and I live out in the country. And so when we left to go to the airport, when I turned out onto the main road, I saw that it was 4:44 as we turned onto the road, when 4 is the number of miracles. So then, now here's the ironic thing. So we leave Gallatin Gateway, and it's 4:44 a.m., and I'm driving down the road, and I get to talking about this beautiful new road they put down, and I completely missed my turn to the airport, and I blew into a small town called Belgrade, which is north of my town. And Belgrade's interesting because the city of Belgrade, you go from going 55 on this highway to boom, 35, and there's no in-between speed limit. So I kind of blew past the 35 and was in the process of slowing down, and I get pulled over in the morning, and I get a speeding ticket for going 45 and a 35 because I'm trying to slow down. And I, honest to God, was like, God, am I in Belgrade? It's 5 in the morning. Where am I? So I get this ticket at 5 o'clock in the morning. 5 is change. Okay. So here comes this officer, and actually he's cool about the ticket, and I get it. And we have to catch a plane. And
it took 20 minutes at least to get the ticket. So we're starting to get a little concerned about our time frame.
Because really, I mean, we didn't have any bags to check or whatever, but we should have gotten to the airport. At this point, the plane is boarding at 5:45. Okay. So now it's 5:20. And I'm sitting there getting a ticket, and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't had a ticket, Melissa, since I was like, it's been like 30 years since I've gotten a speeding ticket. It's hilarious. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. So the guy comes back, and so at this point it's 20 after, and we're, according to Google Maps, because I got to refigure out where I am because now I'm lost. We're 11 minutes away from the airport. So I'm like, okay, crap, it's going to be 5:30 by the time we get there. And, it's going to take a few minutes to get through security and blah. And I'm thinking, I hope they hold the plane. And we weren't cutting it down to the wire to Reno. So I thought if we missed the flight, we can get on to the next flight because the event was the next day. So we go to the airport. And what Google Maps was saying was an 11-minute drive was about 4 minutes, miraculously. And we get to the airport and we go through this explain the line that we were in for security in the Bozeman airport.
Well, I don't think it was the fact that the line was long. There was only one person, checking people through. But the funny part about that was that, and I wasn't even paying attention to what was going on with you, but we were going through the metal detector instead of the scanner thing.
Right.
So, honestly, I had to take off every piece of my jewelry, including little tiny wire earrings, because I walked through that thing like 6 times and it dinged every single time. And we're like, oh my God, we're going to miss our plane. So then I look over at you and you're waiting in the line we snagged your suitcase and now we have to dump all your stuff out.
Because in my suitcase, you guys, and in fairness to TSA, I probably look like a horrible terrorist because I've got a headset mic and I've got a credit card runner and I've got all these different wires and I've got, I do a lot of nutritional supplements because of what I do. It extracts a lot of minerals out of my body. So I've got these powders and I probably look like a giant bomb.
Well, you probably do because they snag your suitcase every single time.
Yeah. And I even took my electronics out, but it was the powder that tipped them off. I'm like, it's okay. It's nutrition powder. I'm not going to blow up the plane with love and nutrition. Come on. But I was over there. And my bag, they only had one person checking the bags.
Right.
So, so you're getting stopped a billion D times. Now, keep in mind, gang, the plane boards at 5:45, okay? And I'm like, oh my God. So finally, like what should have been 15 minutes later, they get to my bag, they decide I'm not going to blow the plane up, and they give me my stuff. And we turn around and look at the clock. And I said, do you remember? I said, is that right?
I know. It was like we went through a time warp.
It was
weird.
Because it was 5:35 in the morning, So there was just no way that we could have gotten pulled over, gone through that whole line, gone through everything we went through, and still managed to come out the other side. But as you were indicating earlier, we were supposed to go to Reno, right?
Right. And I don't think, we were talking about affirmations, right? And I think that was actually nothing but an affirmation from the universe that is the path that we were supposed to be on at that moment. We are supposed to go to Reno that day because there were people in Reno that were waiting to hear life-changing messages from the angels.
Well, absolutely. And so what I think is so interesting about that is that our gate was gate number 4. The miracle of, it's miracle number. 4 is the number of miracles. We had turned onto Gallatin Road at 4:44. We were driving where I needed to go, and we needed to go. And the turn where I was supposed to turn right there to get to the airport, and I blew past it talking about how great the new road work was. It was early, people. There were 2 of those temporary stoplights. I don't know if you've ever seen those. They're temporary in construction zones at this particular intersection. And had I been in the right lane where I could turn right and go where I was supposed to go, as I was stopped at that intersection, my lane had a red light, like the lights weren't synchronized on my side. So my light was still red, but the lane to my right turned green, and I should have been in the right lane turning right.
Which was pretty funny because we made a mental note of the fact that the lights weren't synchronized, but we didn't quite pick up the message that we were supposed to turn there.
Exactly. I'm like, wow, what's going on with the lights? That didn't turn red. And then I stayed in that lane, kept going, in about 10 minutes, got a ticket. So it was hysterical. It was like, girl, you're supposed to be turning right. Girl, turn right here. Really? You really want a ticket? Okay, we'll go get that ticket, you stubborn thing. But I just was half asleep. So 4:44, for the number of miracles. By the time we get to Reno, our number in the hotel room in Reno was 301, which reduces to a 4, the number of miracles. So we're getting these little prompts along the way from the angelic realm saying, you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to be going to do this. Keep on this. You're supposed to be here for a reason. And that is only one tiny example of the types of synchronicities and miracles that we saw during this tour. It was amazing.
And I honestly think that part of manifesting miracles, right, is listening, is about intuition.
Yes.
So learning to listen to your intuition, because that's sort of what I do for a living, right?
That's exactly what you do for a living.
Yeah.
If I may.
There's 100 different herbs that might address a particular issue, but it's intuition that helps me know which is the right one for that person. And it's the same thing with the numbers that we saw, with the universe actually making time for us to get on that airplane that day.
Yeah, weird. That is the weirdest thing. I cannot account for that except for a miracle.
Yeah, it's just being open to the messages. Yeah, that was a miracle because time expanded.
It did expand. And here's the thing, and this is what we tend to do, and we were talking about this earlier, Melissa, is especially if you're female, okay? If you're female, you explain away red flags, okay? Yet we tend to pay attention to the positives. Males will tend to explain away the positives, but pay attention to the red flags because we've been socialized differently. So guys are socialized to be hypervigilant, and women are socialized to be, oh, that's okay, I'll smooth it over, we'll be the caregivers. So I thought it was really interesting that even though I watched this time compression happen, I was still over there going, did that really happen? Did that actually really happen? Did this happen? But it was a thing. It was a thing. So when we understand that the miracles, they come through us, they don't happen to us, then we need to open up the discussion of how do we open the space in the self to be open to creating a miracle. Because, so now we've given y'all a bunch of great, cool stories about crazy things that happen. And this is like the tip of the iceberg. Melissa's decided to write a book about her experiences, just watching what happens in this angelic resonance and how it's not about synchronicities. It's about actual communication with the universe to us. So I guess we need to open up the discussion, Melissa, about how do we become open to listening? How do we become open? How do you become open to listening to miracles?
Wow. Okay, so I think everyone has their own way, to become open, right? And so my way might not be the same as everyone else's, but definitely the first part of this whole thing was being in a space with other people that have the same energy, that are also becoming open, being in the space with the angels.
That's helpful.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
And it's important to note, all of us have angels that walk with us. So we are always in the presence of angels. Oftentimes, it takes us getting together with other people of like mind or energy or vibration in order to feel not alone and confident enough to open ourselves up to that vibration where we can receive that angelic assistance.
That's so true, because everyone is hearing this stuff.
Yeah.
Everyone is. Those little voices inside your head, those are probably the angels, right? So it's simply a matter of paying attention to those little things that are going on there that are saying, you need to get outside today. Or whatever. For me, that's what it always is.
Or maybe go check with the concierge and make sure that, your
piano.
friend feels secure to play the piano. I mean, maybe you need to stop at the grocery store and pick up that dozen eggs because something's going to happen tomorrow morning that you don't know about. That we are constantly being communicated with. So bullet point 1, listen to the urges and the nudges that you're receiving that are quiet. The angelic realm, the universal realm, your guides, the elemental guides, even our off-world guides, they are a whisper. They are whispering, saying, hey, 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 I need you to do this for me. And actually, it's not to do it for them. I need you to do this for you. So to listen to the whisper is very important. And then the willingness to act, because we're the hands, we're the 3-dimensional hands, right?
Right. And also part of listening is getting yourself, if you need to, in a space where you can hear.
Yeah. And now how would you recommend that for folks?
Lots of different ways. For some people, it's yoga. Get yourself in a space where you're encouraging that energy flow. For me, it is absolutely getting myself outside. I can go sit on a rock for a couple hours and just open up myself and be like, okay, speak to me. Those are the big things, right? Those are the things, those are the questions that I have, or when I just feel that something's not quite right and I need to get out there and get a message. But that's kind of contradictive because it's not always the big messages.
But that's an example. That's a concrete, larger example. We can stop ourselves in the moment. Like if you're going to do something that you're feeling sketchy about, like maybe buy something that you're not sure you should buy, or say something to somebody that you're feeling a little weird about. Take that little mini moment on your inner rock and sit there and just quiet the self. And we all can do this. We can quiet the self past our own desires to say, is this timely? Is this right action? And a lot of times those angels are going to come right back. Here's how you know it's an angelic realm or the spirit realm communicating with you, is those messages come back immediately. It's not a, if your brain if your brain sounds like it's going number 2, okay? It is you. It's not universe. Universe comes in very clearly. Well, what would be the right action? Yes, no. That's universe. That's us taking a mental poo.
It's so interesting because recently I've been thinking about some changes in my life and my business. And recently I was craving some direction, right? So I go up and sit on my rock, open myself up. I'm like, come on, bring it. Tell me what to do. And I got nothing. And I was like, come on, what's wrong? My rock's not working.
My rock is broken.
But honestly, you know what the message was? Be patient. Be patient. And I wasn't really hearing it because it was just about waiting and being patient.
Well, because, and I'm going to put a pin in that for just 1 second, not to interrupt you. Yet, when we are being patient, it's not because universe wants us to learn some big jacked up lesson about patience, believe it or not. I mean, that may be it on some level. Yet the universe is saying, the universe is very literal, gang, okay? Very literal. And the angelic realm is hyper literal. Mother, Father, God, very literal, because love is literal. It literally just loves you. That's it. It is what it is. So when you get the message of be patient, my experience in evaluating that energy signature many years in this field is not that universe is going, Melissa, you just need to learn patience because I'm going to teach you a lesson.
No, that
right?
wasn't it.
No, right. It's that feeling of I am going to literally answer your question, but I can't do it right this second because all the pieces are not literally in place.
Allow the time for the things to happen that need to happen for you to make this choice.
There you go. And then you'll be able to say, yes, no, I got this, whatever. So we tend to think of waiting or patience as a punishment because let's talk about fear. Fear tells us that if it doesn't happen right now, it'll never happen. And that comes from thousands of years of societal oppression, where if you don't have something to eat right now, you're going to starve tomorrow. If you don't have that money in your bank account right now, you're going to retire and eat cat food and be destitute. It is an immediacy because we fear, if we don't get things immediately, we fear that we never will get them. And the fact of the matter is, what is ours, and what is not ours is not ours. And we are here to enjoy this experience of life. So if I'm in fear because I'm not getting what I need right now, because if I don't get it, then the universe hates me. There is no co-creation of a miracle in that. That is complete limitation consciousness. It's fear consciousness. So how would you recommend people work through their fear that if they're not supposedly getting what they want in that moment, how do you suggest people can work through that fear? What's a tool you can give them to release that fear limiter so that they can co-create that miracle?
I think one of the things, like understanding what's going on, is really important. So we talk about this feminine time frame that we've just entered in, and that is a struggle for those of us that have been raised in the masculine time frame where the harder you work, the more successful you are.
Yeah, notice harder
right.
You work.
And so that was what was happening to me. I'm like, come on, give me an answer because I'm ready to work. And I know that that's going to make me successful. And so one tool is understanding, right? Understanding that now we are in the feminine time frame. Now it is time for us to beautifully go with the flow like we are meant to do. And it's not anymore about the harder you work, the more successful you are. So understanding is a big tool against fear.
Acceptance, understanding and acceptance. And that's brilliant. And the big thing is too, and we think, well, wait a minute, I'm supposed to work hard. I mean, I can't just sit in the middle of my living room and hope Twinkies fall on my head. I mean, it could happen if you're a great manifester. Yet when we say work hard, I'm going to define that just a little further. The masculine time frame was wear yourself out in martyrdom and in purpose. Right. And you will wear the banner of that one who wore it out and just punched it out and sweat it out and bleh. And what we're talking about here is you can place purposefulness into the world with consistent action, yet it doesn't have to be hard. So work consistently. Don't work hard. Work consistently. Work diligently. Work in balance with the energy you have to expend that day and give it your best that day. Commit daily to giving whatever you can to an endeavor that is the best you've got to give. To work hard, it means you're just making it hard for no reason. So if we have in that day, if you have a ton of energy to burn and you're diligently working your butt off and you go to bed with your brain blown out going, man, I feel accomplished. Great. You worked as diligently as you could. If you get up one day and you're like, I ain't doing none of this and I'm going Christmas shopping. I'm going Hanukkah gift shopping. Go shopping, because the feminine time frame says pedal to the metal 24/7 will not work. You will spin your tires in the mud. For any of you, we live in Montana. And it gets muddy and rainy and disgusting and snowy. And if you are stuck in the mud and you gun if you punch that pedal to the floor, your tires will spin out and dig a deeper hole into the mud, and you're not going to go anywhere. If you're stuck in the mud, you have to rock that car forward. It has to be a gentle movement. You've got to put it in too low, and you've just got to barely rock it forward and let the car's momentum roll it back. And then you have to give it a tiny tap and let the car's weight roll it forward, and you got to let the car's weight roll it back. And it is a process of tiny movements that unsticks you. Not the pedal to the metal. We're a car. Get out of that mud. You're going to be a freaking monster truck, and you're going to be dirty. Okay? Dirty, dirty, dirty.
That reminds me so much of, I think, one of our major lessons as we came from Minneapolis a few weeks ago. And that lesson was balance.
Yes.
The lesson of the feminine time frame, it's balance. Take the time, and that's also another tool against fearfulness. Take the time to not only do the work, take the time to take care of yourself so you can hear the messages.
Yes, balance is huge in the feminine time frame. So if we're going to co-create miracles, that's excellent. We have got to not only understand that they come through us, they don't happen to us. We must come out of our primary relationship with fear, understand it's teaching us something about release, go into acceptance that or understanding of the times we are in and the energies we're in, not punching the work hard and getting us into the mud pit, but being able to diligently put energy towards consistent effort in what we're going towards with whatever we've got to work that day with. And there is and the other part of this, in my opinion, in how to enable people to collect these opportunities for miracles, is to understand that we are not here we're not actually here to struggle.
Right.
We're not. And we end up struggling because we are trying on different modalities of learning. And I can struggle all day long. Yet if I relax, like you said, on your rock, and when we're talking about the rock, let me just sidebar. Melissa lives in a little town called Bridger in Montana. It's up against the Pryor Mountains. It's got a lot of really sacred space out there. Lots of big, huge sandstone boulders that are ancient with petroglyphs carved on them, and tons of lichen. And lichen grows at an inch every 100 years.
It grows very slowly. Yeah.
So some of these boulders
a magical
are
place.
Very magical.
Yeah.
And some of these boulders are millions of years old. It's amazing. So it's when we talk about finding your rock, find your sacred space. So that's part of also listening.
Actually, that's a whole nother miracle that the universe put me in that place where that sacred space is right out my back door. That's another miracle. The universe gave me the space that I need to find that meditative space so I can listen to my intuition, so I can see the miracles that are happening. It's like one miracle after another, guys, if you pay attention.
And that's it. And stop discounting the communication we have with the universe on a regular basis as coinky dink, oh, what a weird thing, or oh, that came in at the 11th hour and bailed me out. We are constantly being assisted, constantly. And even if you don't feel universe, we can have blue days and we can have icky days. It's okay to have that icky day. Take the downtime to feel icky. Maybe something inside of you is trying to come out, and that's the miracle. So you don't pack that god-awful feeling around with you day in and day out.
And be secure in knowing that icky feeling's not going to last forever.
No.
When we're having this conversation, it makes us sound like we know what we're doing all the time. But honestly, we have those days too.
Oh, yeah.
So,
my God.
Yeah. So, but knowing that it's not going to last forever, that the universe, be confident that the universe is going to keep sending you miracles. It's going to keep giving you intuition. It's going to keep waiting for you to listen.
So what just came to me just now, as you just said, that is a flip side of this whole thing. So really, if we are constantly being communicated with the universe, if we are constantly being given signs and GPS markers, 444, gate number 4, if we are constantly being communicated and guided, then really, is that a miracle? Or is that just the way it actually is? Because I would take this a step further to say that we are walking miracles, we are breathing miracles, we are existing in a miracle sphere, and we are miracle machines. We create miracles every second. We co-create them every second. And once we become aware of seeing them and these constant communications, what that means is we're not alone.
Right.
And then what that means is that if we want to sit and learn in our pity pot or in our pity party of solitude, then that becomes a choice. Not this is the way life is, but it becomes the choice of saying, oh, my life sucks and I'm alone and everybody hates me and I'm going to eat worms. And listen, I am not giving anybody a hard time out there who feels that way. I'm simply telling you, we actually are connected to all things. And once you start to accept and acknowledge those little signs and miracles as they come in, pretty soon you're recognizing they are there always. And pretty soon you understand that what we think is a one-off miracle is actually the operating system here, which is the point of the podcast.
Yes.
Drop the mic. Wait, no, don't drop the mic. These are great mics. Let's not drop them. And so if it is true then, Melissa, because it is true, that we constantly live in a miracle environment, how can we continue? Now, let me throw this question to you. How can we continue to foster that awareness in ourselves so that we don't fall back into the old world programming that has us really programmed that actually we are alone, we are separate, we need to buy antidepressants? And listen, please, if you do take antidepressants, thank God we don't live in 1650, okay? Thank God we have help with our particular brain chemistry. Yet we are sold a lot of ideas, okay? Excessive ideas, that if we buy things, we'll feel better. So how would you tell people, if this really is the way it is, because it actually is, how do we begin to let go of the mythology that we're alone?
Well, gosh, that's a complex question. I think that there's a lot of things. Take care of yourself. Balance. Balance means eating the right food, moving your body, getting outside, doing all those things you need to do to keep your body chemistry healthy, right? But then always know that tomorrow doesn't have to be the same as today. The universe is there with you. So choose to start listening. I know it's hard. But just give maybe 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes and listen for 5 minutes. And if it's hard, just 5 minutes out of your life. You can do anything for 5 minutes, right?
That's true. And if you have trouble with 5 minutes, try 1 minute.
Right.
And if the brain, watch what happens when we try to listen a lot of times, the brain will start to fill that empty space because we are panicky if we have empty space around us, because then we've got to deal with how we feel. So if you're sitting there and 5 minutes is hard, give yourself that opportunity to take 1 minute and say, what's happening with me? And it's tough to give up our identity as the person who's going it alone, because that was what the old world rewarded.
Also, super important, seek out your people.
Tribalism in a positive manner. Keep going.
Yeah. So, find the people, find a metaphysical store in your community and go there and see their flyers and go attend some of their stuff. Find the people that have find your tribe, the people that want the same things you do. Find the people that are searching and trying to pay attention to their intuition and be around them, because we're all connected. And if you connect yourself with the people that want to be positive, they're trying to climb out of that hole, that are just wanting to try and start listening, then it's going to be so much easier. I think it's essential to find your people. And
that really means that we've got to put ourselves out there, right?
Right.
Because see, here we go. And then we go back to this place of being that person going, well, Facebook sucks and people suck and people are mean and the universe needs to show me I can trust it so I can go forward. And we lead out with all of this fear. And the universe is going to come by at our doorstep and say amen to whatever type of modality of learning we want to put on.
It's so interesting. That reminds me of my life story. Right?
Right? You go, girl. Preach!
The fearless story. Yeah. So a few years ago, you taught me, one of the lessons that you taught me was don't make fear-based choices.
Yeah. Oh,
right?
Gosh. Yes. Explain that to everybody.
Background, I guess. I came to you without knowing you at all in a super weird relationship.
She had a weird personal relationship that was happening.
Right. And felt very alone, felt unconfident. I did not have the confidence to reach out to people. Why? Because I was afraid. I was afraid of rejection.
Afraid? There you go. You were afraid that you were going to get rejected.
Absolutely. I was afraid I was going to get rejected. So, and you said just that sentence, don't make choices based in fear. And somehow that resonated with me. The angels, right? It was a message from the angels. And so I threw caution to the wind, guys. And I was like, well, I'm going to start reaching out to people. And I'm going to start, just asking people to do stuff with me and see what happens. What's the worst thing that can happen? They might say no. Well, then I'm going to ask someone else.
There you go. Because maybe that person is tired. Maybe they need to rest. We love to make stuff all about us, don't we?
Right. And so honestly, what happened from that little thing, and it's a huge story, but what happened from that one simple choice I made to stop making my decisions based in fear was that I met the person that I've been waiting to meet my whole life, that I'll spend the rest of my life with, that I love so much. I changed my entire career because I stopped being afraid to change things, right? I get to help people. I get to heal people now every single day. I get to work with my best friend and help bring people to hear the messages from the angels. I mean, my whole life path opened up when I stopped making choices based in fear. And it was just that one tiny choice, that one tiny thing that I chose to stop being afraid. I just chose to not worry about being confident. I just did it.
Just do it, which is why that Nike ad is one of the most successful, really, marketing messages to ever get out there. And to give just a little wraparound on this, how do you choose not to be afraid? And what was I saying to you when the message came through saying don't make decisions in fear? Here's what that meant. Here's the bullet points of that. We tend to make decisions around what we fear the most. Well, I really want to go out to dinner, but I'm afraid to spend that money. So I'm just going to go home and just make some hamburgers or whatever. So I make a choice because I'm afraid of something rather than making a choice out of what I wish to do. I really would love to go get this doctorate degree, but I'm just afraid that I can't do it. So I'm going to decide not to because I'm afraid I can't. When we base our decision on fear, we literally are shutting down your life path. You're shutting it right down and you're redirecting it and you're going to learn stuff out of it. And it's not that you can't learn from making fearful decisions because that's how we learn a lot. You will learn 500 times more information making decisions in joy, positivity, and enthusiasm than you will in making decisions based on fear. Because the fear decisions it's like taking the same exit and entrance onto the freeway. You're going to get off at the same time and on at the same time and off at the same time and on at the same time. And you're going to cover that same 2 miles 45 times, getting off and on in the same spot. You will learn doing that. Yet you learn a lot more going forward in hope and joy and enthusiasm. So that's what I meant when I was telling Melissa that. So anyway, gang, I can't believe we went over. We've crusted over our hour. This went by so fast.
It did.
And Melissa, I would love for you to be a guest again because you are full of fantastic information. You're great explaining this stuff to people. And so everybody, this is Melissa Scianna. You can find her online at vintageapothecaryshop.com. She is an extremely gifted herbalist and energetic healer, as well as someone who can feel the essences and energies in oils and other organic elemental applications to the body and the spirit. You can go online at vintageapothecaryshop.com and you can order her organic herbs and whatnot that she can actually, if you call her up, she can have a personal consultation with you. And really quickly, Melissa, just tell folks how that works.
So people come to me all the time with different things, right? So it might be a spiritual thing. It might be an emotional thing. It might be a physical thing, because as we all know, those things are all super connected and inseparable. And so I will talk to you about what's going on in your life, whether it's any of those things. And then we talk about what plant magic herbs might be helpful to you, essential oils. And also a lot of times there's intuitive things that I get that are actions that you can take. It's not always about what plant's going to help you, but it's about changing the mind, body, spirit, making the energy run smoothly. doing all those things so you get on your life path and you can be healthy.
Exactly. So you can call up Melissa. She helps you out not only just with the herbal stuff, but she's an intuitive. She's a healer. She gets into your energy field and she can help you out there. And you have a lot of clients that don't even live in Montana.
Yes, we do a lot of stuff I do a lot of stuff on the phone.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So check it out. And what's the phone number for people to reach you?
406-850-3287.
That's right. So not only is she awesome, but she's awesome. So there you go. Everybody, thank you so much. We are so excited. We wrapped up the Ascension tour, so I can't say go to the website and buy tickets. Yet I really want to thank everybody who allowed me to experience miracles in Portland, Boulder, Billings, Minneapolis, Bozeman, and in Reno. All of you, I have such gratitude for each one of you that you allowed me to see miracles in action, and to be able to translate these messages for you has been such a gift. So I hope to do it again, and stay tuned, because as we go on in these podcasts, we're going to talk more about the manifestation of the most incredible positive things in your life. Everybody, thanks so much. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
And we will see you next week.